Okay, so today, actually, well, what we were doing today is bug hunting, because yesterday we found a mistake where if we have, I'll try to see if I can remember how we did it. We have moving into an edge here, and we try to take stone with us, it crashes, but that isn't always the case. Like, I think if we have, let's see this. See, we don't crash here. We only have been crashing if that was a capstone, which I find is really strange. So we crash at 2172. Let's take a look. So we crashed here. We were trying to index a grid that was not in our occupants. So grid is a 2D array of occupants. And basically what's happening is the second movement row gets chosen for you based on your previous direction and whether or not you've locked in your move. So I don't get why it's not crashing if it's a non-capstone. That's still confusing to me. So yeah, like let's say we have a couple stones here and we're gonna move into the next stone and try to lock it in. It doesn't let us lock it in and it doesn't crash. But if we were right here and we had a capstone and we try to lock it in, we crash there. So why is that? We've got it figured out for lay stones. So we're crashing because the second movement column is getting assigned even though it is off. Even though it is off grid. Let's take a look at our next move illegal function because I think that's where we were fixing some stuff. Next move illegal. What is going on? Find next move illegal. Now look at this. If not off grid. Now is our next move illegal? Yeah, next move illegal asks if our next move row and next move column is an illegal move. Hold on a second. Our next move row is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so if this is within the valid confines of a new move, then we're saying if our mouse stones plus that next move's occupants, if our occupants plus their occupants is greater than 14, then we're going to be off grid. Otherwise, we're not off grid. So, next move illegal should be where we're becoming off grid for this stuff, but we're not crashing on next move row, we're crashing on first and second move row, or what was it? What was the... 2172. Let's see. Yeah, we're not crashing on the next move illegal, or it's the second movement. Second movement is where we're actually crashing here. I'm curious if we just say, if not off grid, meaning it would be a valid move, then we're going to go ahead and do this. Let's see if that might fix it. Is where we crush. 2204. It's a different line though. 2204. Now we're crushing. Really? Off grid. Then we're gonna say, hey, if our occupants is 1, our mouse stone control is a capstone, which is the case, then we're going to become no longer off grid. What? Oh god. What movement event is this? Movement event 5. So we just push the bug down, but we're still in movement event 5, and it says if enter is pressed, then if we have 0 occupants. See, but that was the case, we weren't. We crashed here, 2205, right? Oh god. 2202. Is that where we crashed? No, we crashed here, 220. I think we crashed on one of these, but... So it crashed because we were off grid. And then we pressed enter. Oh god, man, I'm so confused. Okay, well, we fixed, it just crashed at a different line. Instead of crashing here, if we're not off grid, go ahead and highlight that next movement. That makes sense. But then we're saying here, if by the time we lock in that move, by the time we lock this in, if our occupants is 1 and our stone control of our mouse is a capstone, which is the case, then we're going to become yeah, this is wrong. We want to... let me... Why does this move us to movement event 6? And this moves us to movement event 6? This should not be happening. Let me take a look at our movement event 6 and see if we do anything like that. By the time we press enter, we're saying, hey, if we're off grid, what does that even mean? If we're off grid, we're going to flip it so we're not off grid. This is because, okay, you know what, this is, okay. So what's happening here is our CapStone Crush logic is interfering with our off-grid logic. Our off-grid logic is supposed to prevent us from taking stones into a grid once we've got our locked-in direction. Off-grid is preventing us from indexing into a nil grid index. But the CapStone Crush is where that is not needed, but we have it generally. So it's like our CapStone Crush logic is making an off-grid move actually not off-grid. With this, off-grid is false. So when off-grid, so like we're trying to index an off-grid movement, even though we could be off-grid here. So how do we fix this? So off-grid ending turn. Now we didn't crash here. Is this in movement event 5? Yeah. So we're gonna say, hey, only render our dark green if we're in fact not in off-grid. Because if we try to index that nil, we'll crash. But then we crash right here because we have a capstone and this is our CapStone Crush logic. We've got one occupant, its stone controls a capstone. Then we're saying, okay, off-grid is false, update your stone control, become occupied. But the thing is, this isn't actually... So I'm curious if it allows us to drop, like if we've got a standing stone and a capstone, we can dump it and we cannot pick it up because of decisions we made while programming it. So we're saying if our mouse occupants is 1 and it's a capstone, then go ahead. See, now where is actually the CapStone Crush though? We are updating stone control. Ay. See, it's... We actually don't want this. If it's a CapStone Crush, we just want to get the fuck out of there. Swap players. But we're not swapping players. What is going on? We don't swap players unless we press enter here. Where do we swap players? Player swap. We only swap players. Our mouse occupants is 0, which makes sense. But god damn, this is confusing. Are we even using this? What are we? I don't think we're even using this. CapStone Crush. Now. Yeah, we do use this. We use it in movement event 4, movement event 5, movement event 6. Okay. if we press enter and our occupants, we press enter off grid. We're not crushing here, are we? CapStone Crush. Oh my god. This is absolutely wild. Where are we doing? I want to know where we're doing. Our move locked highlight in a movement event 4. Move locked highlight in a movement event 4. Move locked highlight. We're not. Because that's just locking in stones. Okay. Now we're setting CapStone Crush to true, and we're saying if up is pressed and we're not at CapStone Crush, go ahead and pick up that stone. But if enter is pressed, we've got 0 occupants, go ahead and swap us. But if we're off grid, see, now what exactly is this? See, my thing is a CapStone Crush should result in a switching of a player, because a capstone can only crush if it's the last move. So if we crush it, if the capstone moves by itself, which is what enter being pressed is here, why do we even need to do this off-grid crap? We don't even need to update. We shouldn't even need to update any of this crap, because we only update that. What? This is jacked. Okay, see, look, it makes sense to have it here. If we're not off grid, go ahead and update that crap and then move us to a movement event. But if we're a CapStone Crush, we shouldn't need to do this. We shouldn't need to do... Yeah, man, we shouldn't go to movement event 6 on a CapStone Crush. So I'm kind of curious what happens if we just turn off all of this. So we say... if that is out of the question, what happens? So we only have one capstone in our hand, and we're not crashing. But we could... Okay, I just went to drop it and it crashed at 2176. Which is a movement event 5. Okay. So if we go 2506, what was that? Damn it, what was it? $176. Which is right here. I guess we need to ask if this is not off grid. So we only want to do this stuff if down is pressed, we've got more than one occupants, and we're not off grid. Then we go ahead and do this. Now we've got our off-grid logic turned off, so I'm hoping this leads to not crash. Let's see. Okay, we don't crash when we lock it in, and we're not able to drop it because we are actually off-grid. Because we do want to be able to drop a stone. So this doesn't quite fix us, because we need to be able to drop that stone. So where exactly are we messing up then? $2176. So we're crashing because we're indexing this. Shit, man. Now, why do we have to ask what the second movement stone control is? Because we need to figure out if we can actually crush it. So we're asking, you know, if we press down, this is to drop a stone, and that's where we're crashing. But why can't we drop a stone? Why would it be indexing the incorrect value here? See, we shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have put a bunch of logic based on if we were off grid or not, because that was actually two different things. Like, we're using off grid to determine, hey, are we going off the board, off our actual 2D grid? Or is it an illegal move, which is how we're using it in this context, which we're saying, okay, if we're gonna be off grid, we're actually not off grid if the mouse stone occupants is 1 and our stone controls a capstone, but that is not the case. Off grid should be split into illegal move and off grid for those two different variables, or two different reasons. So how do we fix it? We got to decouple the functionality between off grid and being an illegal move. That's the problem. That's the problem. The capstone moving by itself is crashing. Oh Lord, this is tough. Of course it's gonna be a real doozy for the last update before our game is done, huh? Well, what movement event is this? What event for? Locks in stones in hand for our second movement. Now, movement event 3 does what? select the first movement grid. That's easy enough. So moved event 4 is, yeah, locking in our hand for the second movement. So locking in stones in hand. So in our movement event 3, we have some logic here that's saying, hey, if we're in a legal move and we clicked in it, we're going to lock in that highlight. We're not going to be a legal move anymore, and then we're going to lock in our direction. Now, we get our first movement row from the IJ of the grid we clicked on. So, selecting first movement grid, yeah. So we click our first movement, then that locks in our first movement row and column. Locking in our direction based on that row and column. Look at this note we have here. If next grid stone controls a capstone or a standing stone, then we would need to become off-grid true. That's the decoupling issue we're talking about right now. That would be an illegal move, not an off-grid. But I don't get why in a movement event 4 we would crash. Oh, you know what? Well, we're indexing the stone control of our first movement column, but by the time, once we press down and we have a stone, if it is a standing stone, we'd go ahead and CapStone Crush, which means we would change its type to a lay stone. We'd upstate that stone control of that column. Then we would drop our stone from, this is wrong. Stone control, drop stone. See, I feel like this drop stone is just jacked. This drop stone. Well, let's see what drop stone parameters are. It is occupant and option. We pass in an occupant. Okay. The occupant, let me see this. We're moving the member from our mouse stone into the occupant index of this parameter. The occupant index is just the amount of occupants, so it's the topmost member of the grid we're passing in is where we're dropping a stone into. So that looks to be right. Now, movement event 4. Yeah, we drop it, lock stone in hand for a second movement. So if we press down, we would drop a stone into that first movement. Yeah. Up, we'd pick it up from that first movement. But enter, we'd lock it in. So what we're doing is updating our stone and stack control for that first movement. We're becoming occupied there, which actually is not right. Oh, if our mouse occupancy is 0, yeah. Then we become occupied, and then if we have no occupants in our movement origin, then we're gonna say, what the heck is going on here? This doesn't make any sense. Movement origin column, movement origin row. We're doing two if statements of the same thing here. So we're saying, okay, if we've got 0 occupants in our movement origin, then we're going to go ahead and stop highlighting that. We're not going to be occupied there anymore, and we're going to clear stack control for that grid. Now, yeah, this is where it's fucked up. Oh, lordy, I really should have split up off-grid and illegal move. Next illegal move or something. I'm trying to weasel my way out of it, out of having to fix it, because it's for every single movement event. But I think we might just have to redo that. Because instead of being off-grid here, no longer off-grid, we're actually still off-grid. Because you know what? We can do it. We can do it. I think we can do it still. I think we can say something like, let me just make sure. Let me see if we crash in movement event 4 here. We crash in movement event 5. What? I thought we crashed on an enter press, not on a down press. Okay, I'm gonna select this to move both. I'm gonna dump one, and I'm only gonna hit enter. It doesn't crash. But when we try to dump that last stone, that's when we crash. So we press down, and it can't index our second movement row. This is wrong. Stone control is standing stone. So we're saying, okay, down is pressed, and we've got more than one occupant. The first thing we're going to do is say, okay, if we have exactly one occupant, and that occupant's a capstone, and the stone control of our second movement is a standing stone, then we're going to go ahead and do the standing stone crush logic. But why are we crashing there? Second movement row is getting set up here to be the updated direction. So we're updating it by saying this is jacked, man. We shouldn't need 2 lines for each of these. We're just, oh no, we're assigning row and column. Okay. So yeah, we're locking in the next movement row, but then, jeez, this is so hard to think about. Enter's pressed. Okay, so movement event 5. Movement event 4 is what? Locking in first movement stones. Locking in stones in hand for our second movement. So by the time we hit enter, we've locked in the second movement grid. Now, by the time that second movement grid's locked in, we want to say, hey, if we're off grid, damn it, dude. I don't get it. I don't get it. What are all the things we do? We drop a stone, we pick up a stone, we lock it in, which will either update our movement event or switch our player. But we're not actually doing a player swap in a movement event 5. Yeah, we are. We're doing it if we have 0 occupants. Okay. But then why do we crash? We're indexing the same shit here. We're indexing the second movement row here, and we don't seem to have a problem crashing there. But we crash if we have 1 occupant. So we're indexing second movement row, second movement column. Jesus Christ. Problem is, like, look at this second movement row. We're indexing that, and that's what's crashing it. We also index it here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. So it's like, how is that crashing it? Maybe at the beginning of movement event 5, we say, we say if second movement column and row is off grid, because see what it's bothering me that we crash on dropping a stone. Why would we crash on dropping the last stone? Oh, Lord, it's jacked, man. It's... So that works fine. It's just that when we've got CapStone moving into an edge space, we're indexing a new value here at 2170. Yeah. So we need to do this, but we only need to do this if it's not an illegal thing. Oh God, it's so hard. Because the thing is, we index this value all over here. So we need to ensure. Why would dumping a stone crash it there? Why would dumping a stone crash it there? Like, why would it crash on 2172 specifically? If our stone control is a standing stone. The This works fine when its stone control is literally a standing stone, but it doesn't work if it's an empty spot, or if we've already put a stone in that spot, because we only drop a stone if we have a stone to drop and down is pressed. But then we need to say, oh God, man. I'm kind of curious if we put this stuff above. What if we do this first? Does it still crush? Crash there. Now, I guess we were to say, ignore that. Still crash. This is a different index local occupant, which is a nil value, 242. Drop stone. Okay. Oh, this is beyond jacked. Oh, it's beyond jacked. Oh, this hurts. So we're crashing because our next movement, actually, let's do, why wouldn't we just, dude, what? Okay, we're gonna say by the time we lock in this movement, we're gonna swap our movement lock highlight only if our second movement row is smaller than 5, smaller than or equal to 5, and second movement row is greater than or equal to 1. Greater than or equal to 1. And our second movement column is smaller than or equal to 5. And our second movement column is greater than or equal to 1. Then we're going to go ahead and highlight that. Now if, oops. Bro. How, what? Delete. Delete. How do you enter a new line? Just like that. Okay. Okay, 2 175. Okay, at least we're not crashing on the highlight anymore. So that should be working, but let's make sure. We should be able to do a highlight here. It's actually something like this. We actually want to test it. A stone going solo. Where is it? Here. We want a capstone going solo into an edge piece. Does it highlight? Which it does. So we fixed that part of the bug, but now it's crashing here again on this. We can't index the second movement in our movement event 5, but why not? We're assigning it. We're assigning it based on our first movement and our direction. So right here, our first movement plus our direction is getting the arithmetic for it. Now, like, I think we might want to say, like right here, maybe we say, like, visual cache, delete. Come on, man. Visual cache, delete, insert, then we can say we want to do this only if the above, when we do this crap here. So we're going to say if our second movement row is legal, then we're going to go ahead and ask so if our second row is legal, we're going to say no. Say okay, if our grid if the grid at our standing stone control is a standing stone, then we're going to go ahead and do standing stone or crush, CapStone Crush logic here. So let's see if that works. Nope, 2187. And it's because we're dropping. What the fuck is happening? What the fuck is happening? We're not allowed to drop a stone in our second movement column. Why not? Does this mess up on every other one too? Like if we were down here and we had a stack one higher, does it mess up here? That was not quite what I wanted to do. Okay, we want to move a solo capstone into an edge space. That works. Okay, do we want to do... What if we have one here, then we drop one, lock it in, doesn't let us, drop it in. So is it only movement event 4? It's crashing on us like that? Is it really? Because this is not making sense to me. What time is it? Okay, this is... Oh, I've got time right here. Thanks, Fim. Or T-Mugs. Okay. I think we might be only fucking it up on movement event 4. No, because in our movement event 5 we actually turned off that logic. Yeah. Okay, let me turn this back on. And this is a movement event 5. Let's go to our debugging and turn on our debugging so we can see what event we're at, which looks like what? Whatever. We'll just turn it on and see. Let's take off our instructions. Where is our movement event? 0. Okay. So, now let's see if we crash over here. Okay. So we're going to try to dump one here. And then it is a movement event 5. Yeah. We crashed trying to lock that in. Okay. Okay. I think we just got to rehaul our off-grid functionality. So we're going to decouple our off-grid logic, which is supposed to be off-grid means that our next move would be off our 2D grid. So we've got a 2D grid 1 through 5 row, 1 through 5 column. If any movement gets locked in at 0 or 6 or on those spectrums past the 1 through 5, then that's what off-grid is meaning. But we were using off-grid since we want off-grid to prevent us from dumping stones and to enforce that we dump stones. I was just like, let's just use off-grid for CapStone Crush. But that means if we are off-grid and we've got a CapStone Crush, or if we're about to be off-grid, No. If we are off-grid, but the off-grid becomes a CapStone Crush, then dropping a stone indexes the nil value. I still don't get why that happens, though. I still don't get why. See, we shouldn't need to do this. We shouldn't need to do this. It sucks because like this is the core of the moving gameplay, so we gotta rehaul not only the core of the moving gameplay, but to do it in every movement event and make sure there's no bugs. So it's like, It's like, why don't we just redo the game while we're at it? Fuck. Okay. Yeah, that's a bad thing. We can't let the game crash like that. God damn. It's so complex. So complex, and it's like, you know, it's almost 3,000 lines of code in this play state. So it's like when we just try to rehaul one thing, and we gotta sift through 3,000 lines and make sure we're not overriding shit that has a very specific purpose. I don't think I'm gonna git commit today. We didn't fix anything. And I'm afraid I've only broken things more. So what I'm actually gonna do is reset. If we do our git here, added first movement logic and instructions. That was our yesterday commit. Dude. So what if I say git reset --hard at our hash. Okay. Now if we nvim we're back to where we are at the start of the episode. Now I'm just gonna take off these instructions and put on our debug. Not that. This. Put on our debug, take off our instructions. Okay. Now. God dang. So yeah, we're just gonna have to rehaul it. At least we did some digging and we kind of understand the shape of the problem now. We go into our notes. We need to say, actually, yeah. Debug smooth stone. We need to add another, say, we just need to uncouple that off-grid logic so that we don't, because the problem is off-grid will prevent us from moving. Off-grid will actually ensure we dump all of our stones in our current space unless the space ahead of us is clear and empty. But what's happening, let's see. What's happening at our 2172, is that where it was? Yeah, what's happening is we're dumping a stone. So I guess I'm just still confused why we're crashing here. Because that wasn't the case. We weren't crashing here unless this is actually off-grid. Absolutely, positively don't freaking know. We're crashing here at second movement row in a movement event 5 because our second movement row is off grid at this point. Now we lock in second movement row, but see, fuck, I can't. My brain can't handle it. My brain can't hold this many lines of code and understand what the frick's going on. I don't get why. Because like the weird thing is we're able to move look at this. We're able to move a capstone. We can say, hey, let's move and dump both of those and lock it in. Sure, that's fine. But if it's right here, come on, dude. It's right here. We say, okay, yeah, we can move up here. But once we dump that one, oh, come on, you're not messing up now? What's going on? Okay, there we go. 2172. Crashing right there because we hit enter, we switch to movement event 5. Okay. We switch to a movement event 5, which is then asking to switch the bool of our next movement row, which, okay, so it is, okay. I was confused because I thought it was crashing upon an enter being pressed, which wasn't necessarily true. What was happening was enter was being pressed, and enter being pressed up here in movement event 4 was triggering movement event 5, and then we crashed on the first movement event 5. So the reason we are crashing is because our off-grid becomes false if we're only moving with a capstone and a capstone only. But we need to stay in off-grid true if we're capstone and capstone only and we're on an outer grid. There we don't want enter to do anything. So like this is saying, hey, if we're not off grid, go ahead. If we're not off grid and we've dropped all that, we've dropped a stone, go ahead and move us. So maybe this is the line where it's at. Yeah, it's on this line where we're saying, okay, if we're off grid, we're no longer off grid because of a CapStone Crush. This is what's screwing us. Because since we're not off grid, or since we, shit, I don't know. That's where it's messing up though. It's in this area because, so what should happen in a movement event 4 if we're off grid? This is where it's messed up. We shouldn't be asking if we're off grid, and we shouldn't be asking if we're off grid here. I need to do a deep dive and kind of just try to understand my thought process behind this because it's so complicated. Off grid affects everything and it's all hidden in these functions, and it's hard to see what's actually happening unless I refresh. But it's going wrong in movement event 4. And I think it's going wrong here for the CapStone Crush. So I'm going to just say, snoop around here to fix the bug. Where's the off-grid? So it is in this area. It's tricky because I was looking under the enter key press detection when it was really in the movement event 5 that was actually crashing us. So we need to fix it in the movement event 4 so that we don't crash in the movement event 5. Because that's why it works when we're not moving into a corner, and that's why it breaks when we do try to move it onto an edge piece. So there's part of me that thinks we could fix this still because we're using the term off-grid. Let me see. When we down, we ask if we're off grid, yeah? No, we don't. We don't. Okay. Yeah, I've just got to look deeper into what off grid is actually being used for. What does next move illegal actually do? Well, it goes through our next move row and switches our off grid. So this is where it's going wrong because we're running our next move illegal. Yeah, we really do need to. We need to. Fuck. I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do to fix it. I think we just need to decouple our off-grid and our next move illegal. I think we need another boolean. Fuck, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to scratch my head and really try to fix it tomorrow. Look at how pitiful. Just changing notes. That's pitiful. I want to say we... a pitiful commit, but we programmed today, we did some hunting, and it's a very complex problem, so it's not a failure at all, even though we didn't program anything for our program. At least that's what I'm telling myself. So it's not a 0 day, it's just really tough. I'm starting to wrap my head around the problem though, so we know where to dig, we know where the problem is, which is better than not even knowing where the problem is. So we know where we need to focus on, we just gotta worry about fixing it. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully we get some bug hunting and bug fixing.